All right, it looks like we are live for this week in League De Nutz. I am your host, the Commissioner, Matt Levine. Welcome aboard to this week in League De Nutz as the Clash plays us in. Fiddling around with the controls here, but hopefully everyone is doing well and had a great week. You know what they say, right? You're just on the fly. That's not what I was going to say. And better late than never as we start off week 4 with a review of week 3 and a little bit of a preview of week 4 as it's gotten underway just a tad with the Thursday Nighter. So we'll get into it on this week in League De Nutz. It is week 4. It's about that time where I think you start feeling where you know where your team lies. You have an identity of your team. You have an awareness of maybe who you should play, who you shouldn't play, at least for yours truly. A little bit, I say a tad, just a little splash of forgiveness. If you didn't put the right players in, I'll get more into that. So now you know where you stand, right? And there's plenty of time left in the season, but there's not that much time because this becomes the crucial stretch of the season where you get that middle chunk and you start really establishing who's going to be who and who is going to be in the upper rung of the 6, the lower rung of the 6. Who goes on to the second season, who sits back and waits for next season. So a lot at stake this time of year in this week in League De Nutz. All right, it's good to be able to talk about that cup right there and chasing it down and who's who and going through a little bit of this and that and everything on this week in League De Nutz. And I'm going to start with this. How did I get these numbers? Well, I did the math. So basically, if you look there, what you see is a parity-less League De Nutz. I talked about parity before, last week, years gone by, and so on and so forth, right? But according to my math, and I would not trust it wholeheartedly, barely scrape by in what they call dumb math in college. Talked about that before, but let's not get into my college math that much. But here's the math. You can go figure it out yourself if you don't believe Commissioner Einstein. So, the week 1 average score, 175, 119. Week 2, 192, 134. Week 3, 144, 125. Just a couple games. I'll talk more about that. So the average score, 170, 126. Not very League De Nutz-ish. Say that 10 times. Differential, the average margin of victory, 44 points. I know it's early. I said that a minute ago, right? But it's interesting. There have been a lot of blowouts. Let's take a look at the old scoreboard, shall we? Why not? Okay. If you take a look at the scoreboard there, what you notice is 2 close games, right? Going from, whoops, lost my page. Going from left to right. One in the middle, Keldar. Talk about that one like every other game, 121, 118, so that's the 3-pointer. And then you scoot over to the right and you go up one. Dax picks, 7-point W over ABs. And really every other game, decidedly not close. So, a little bit of parity thus far missing in League De Nutz. A little bit of the nail biters. Really haven't had any. But, with that said again, I'll say it for the 3rd time in the first couple minutes of this show. I'll try not to say it again. It is early. I guarantee you. If you took the over-under on how many times I will say it is early, I'll put the over-under moving on from here at 5.5. Take the over. Don't blame me if you bet the house and took the under. Let's move on. We'll start with the unbeaten team. Until they get knocked off They will lead the show off, and they'll be treated like the VIP that they are. And it's these guys right here. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. The Delray Pounders getting the win. How about it? Now 3-0 after smoking Dingstown. That's scary. What was that movie as a kid about the nuclear bombs? The Day After? Scared the heck out of me. For a good portion, I think, second grade. Talking 82, circa 83. Delray again unbeaten, 1-2 for Dingstown. So how Delray get it done? Well, like I said, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But it's been a lot of him. Oh, yeah. Lamar doing his thing again. It's just been fantastic. Dances. Goes with the shades. Last week, 51. Averaging 44. Best ranked quarterback in the league. 218 yards of passing for Lamar. There you see the stats. 5 total touchdowns. Ran for 107 yards on the ground. 1 interception. 4 touchdowns through the air. Gets it done in the win over New England, 37-26. I'm not going to blame Dinglings. Really not. Or Dingstown. Formerly Dinglings. The artist formerly known as Prince. Went by way of Flacco. Right? What are you going to do? Wasn't the worst move you could make. He had Herbert beat up. Herbert went for 13. Flacco had been averaging 31 points a game with that miracle win over Cleveland the week before. He looked like the Flacco old. He wasn't that shabby last week, but no touchdown passes against 2 INTs. 28-52, 285, 2 fumbles. You see the official statistics if you're keeping score at home. So, Flacco, well, that's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say, right? Meanwhile, Dingstown, let down a little bit by a guy who's been spectacular. Maybe cursed him by saying he looked like one half of the old Marx brothers in Miami, Clayton and Duper. Oh, I'm sorry. Waddle was great. He didn't really let down. My bad. 26 points for Waddle. The rest of the wide receivers let down, as you see waddling away right there. He had 26, 4 catches, 102, 25 yards per catch on the average. Amazing. But the crux, right, of Dingstown's wide receivers let down by, we got to get Waddle. We got to waddle him out of there. Quack his way out of there. They were let down by Justin Jefferson, Pittman Jr., Bateman. They combined for just 24. As I said, Waddle was better than all 3 of them. So not a great day for Dingstown's wide receivers minus Waddle. Besides Jackson, how about Garrett Wilson and Tyler Lockhart? Dynamic duo. Yes, indeed. There they are. Combined for 26 points. Delray will look to stay perfect. They'll be at home, will Delray, in a rematch against Dingstown. Now, it's interesting. These schedule makers, don't blame me. It's ESPN. Well, maybe blame me. I didn't take a look ahead. I don't remember this many home and homes. You know, they're usually spread out, but it is what it is, right? You're going to have to play them anyway. So, establish it early on. Take command of your division early on. Got to play the games that are on the schedule, and you got to win them, regardless if you face them in week 2 or week 12, whatever. Look at the standings more later. Guarantee you on that. Anyway, Polk High School. They get their first win of 2020 against Smash, 121-93. Let's take a look at that one. That one shaked out a little bit. Whoops, it's the wrong one. All right, there we go. 121-93. 1-2 on the year for Polk. Smash, the same deal, 1 up and 2 down. Definitely in this one, no doubt about it. It was the wide receivers that squared off and decided it is League De Nutz after all, as I said like 7 times last week. The over-under on that, about 3.5. Take the under. Take the under. Anyway, for Polk, look to the left. You get Samuel, Chase, London, McLaurin. They combine for 68. Pretty awesome. On the other end, to the right, Moore, Hill, Johnson, Thomas. Disappointing. Disappointing right there. As they combine for 32. So that's the difference, right? Do the math. 28 points. 26 points in the wide receiver battle with the primary wide receivers. Not a disappointing crib, though, for Tyreek Hill here in South Florida. From here, coming back to the Dolphins after a stellar start to his career with the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is $6.9 million with a basketball court, video games throughout. They do like a, what was it called, the cribs? I'm going old school with the Robin Leach thing. Not the Lifestyle Rich and Famous, the... What's My Crib? I don't remember. Whatever. The one that used to be on MTV. If you go Google it, you'll see Tyreek Hill Mansion. You'll see an incredible, That's My Crib. I think that was the name of the show, where they go through his house. It's pretty cool. Anyway, enough about that. We'll see. We'll see if Smash can rebound against Dak's picks in week 4. That'll be the big one for him. While Polk High School, they'll take on AB's Painted Helmet. AB's, they destroyed Polk 179 to 137 in week number 1. So, we'll have some things going on as we'll see if the sibling rivalry there will come out for a split or it's going to be AB's taking the series or the season sweep over the kid brother. Shoreham Drive East Posse. Something like that. All right, let's move on. And when I look to the right, I'm sorry for doing that. I'm looking at the monitor in front of me. I'm just going to tilt this up a little bit and hope it doesn't come in the camera. That way I can look what's down or I can look straight ahead. But I want you to think that I'm getting distracted. Nope, nothing over my right shoulder except for a window shade. I promise you. Okay. Anyway. Polk High School. We'll see. We said that they were able to pick up that first win. By the way, I can't leave this out. We'll see if they can Woe Bundy their way to victory next week. Woe Bundy. All right, Polk. You win your first game of the season, and you get yourself a Woe Bundy. There you go. And Smash, again, we'll try to bounce back. Let's tell you about our third matchup of the week. Yours truly. And I did not do that well at all. Very, very disappointed. Still disappointed about this. Ouch. No good. No bueno. Spanking. 178-123. I'm 1-2. Yonkers is 1-2. He gets his first win of the season. Hey, Yonkers, you know what? Let's Woe Bundy you. What the hell? Guy deserves it. Whoa, Yonkers. All right. So, big win there. How'd they get it done? Well, let's talk about it. For Yonkers, home of the world-famous Kennedy's Fried Chicken, it was a pair of Philadelphia Eagles getting it done again. Holy manoli. These two guys right here, Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith. Hurts, 38. Smith with 42. They were dancing the Dirty Bird all night in Philadelphia. Look, I tried to give you the Madden. You got a guy here, boom. Guy there, whap. Tried to give you a little Madden Telestrator circles. Got messy, didn't it? Hurts, you see there, outplayed my quarterback, Mahomes. Hurts rushes for 20 yards, throws for 22 35, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Told you Smith was fabulous. 8 catches, 169 in the yardage, a touchdown. That was dynamite. Also, Davante Adams. I didn't mean to redo his name. He was great. And the loss for Tennessee, loss for the Raiders to Tennessee. He was able to collect 24 points, 5 catches, 1 TD. Right? Look what a nice guy Davante Adams is. Why do I keep calling Davante? I'm calling Devonta Smith Davante Adams. Okay? Both the Adams. But look at Adams on the Raiders. Spent $500,000 a week before last on his family so they can come see him play in Las Vegas in a suite. His grandparents had never seen him play in the NFL, and he wanted them to be there that weekend for his little girl's birthday. Pretty amazing. You'd figure the Raiders would give him the damn suite, right? Give him a discount. Oh, that was a pretty cool story. Anyway, getting those 2 Phillies had all the drunkards. That's not nice. The spirited fans in Philadelphia, probably hammered, dancing in the streets because they collect the win. Again, the first one for Yonkers. Way to go. So between Adams and the Philly guys, they got the job done for me. Painting right there is better than the play. Not so good for my guys, including Mahomes and Kelsey. Let me pull up the stats somewhere over here. Where are they? Maybe I don't have those numbers. But, oh, here we go. All right. So, yeah, I got hammered. Beginning of the season, Mahomes, he put up 50 points. And the last few weeks, he has not been so spectacular. With Kelsey, they've just been struggling. 18 last week, as he had 252 yards, touchdown, interception. Talk about partisan. And Kelsey, meanwhile, has not been doing too well either. And he needs Mahomes to throw it to him to be able to take off, right? 18 points for him. For most tight ends, that's great. But not for Kelsey. He's the best in the game. 4 receptions, 58 yards, a touchdown. Again, partisan. Over under on that word, 2.5. Take the over. Now the over under joke's starting to get old. I know, but it's fun. Anyway, tough Sunday last week for me, or tough week 3, I should say. I was out of it. By 3 o'clock on Sunday, Yonkers ran away with that one. So congratulations to him. You no good mudda. Beep, beep. Way to go, Yonkers. Good win. Yonkers will play Mr. Fox, the fabulous Mr. Fantastic Mr. Fox. Keldar will take on yours truly. Week 1, it was all Nutztown, my lone win of the year. I won by almost 100 points. Or I did win, I think, 224, 124. That's what I wrote. So, see if Mahomes and Kelsey can get me back on track. You know, the receivers, I was talking about that in the introduction. I'm not going to make excuses, but it didn't help me that I had Evans suspended from the Buccaneers for that fighting in week 2. It's football, right? But the kid on the Saints, Olave, I didn't trust him fully. But he went off last week. He was fabulous. I started Perryman and Gage thinking that they could take the place of Evans. The two of them combined with Tampa Bay didn't work out. I told you I left the kid from the Saints on the bench. Really didn't have much of a choice but to go out there with Judy from Denver, who has been injured. And, what was I going to do with him? He got shots, though. He got opportunities to get the football. And then the rest of the wide receivers didn't pan out. Let's take a look. Let me get the numbers here. Scroll on down. Where am I? No. I don't know where the hell I am. There we go. All right. Yeah, so I had, let me take a look. There we go. So that's my problem right there. First off, Sanders didn't give me anything. He's worrying me. And then I said Perriman gave me 5. And then I was thinking, not Judy. Judy I didn't start because his ribs were banged up. So I yuck. Oh, yeah, yuck. Gave me 12 points. And then I mentioned Gage, who gave me 21 points. It's cut off there. 24 points. So not a banner day for my wide receivers. That was the difference. But I thought it was kind of like going to be a tough day when Evans wasn't going to be part of things. But no excuses made, even though I'm kind of making excuses. But Yonkers, they won, so I tipped the backward cap to you. Way to go. Let's move on to Stanford, those nuts, taking on Loopy's Legends. What do you think happened here? Huh? I bet by now you know. But if I can find the score. Here we go. You know what? I do have the score for. There we go. All right. Told you I need an executive producer here. Okay. 158, 117. 2-1 for Loop. Making a comeback. 1-2 for the Rook. SDN. Loopy's able to, I'd say what, moonwalk their way to victory in this one. Good victory for Loopy as they start to take over in the Luca Brazzi division. There he is, the one and only. How'd they get it done? Well, with this guy. There he is as a kid in my neck of the woods. South Broward High School's Hollywood Brown. No, he's not from this Hollywood. He's from this Hollywood. But I'm going to predict a bark is coming any minute. It'll be a little bit of a dogfight, literally, in the background. So I'm giving you a disclaimer. There we go. All right, things are about to get interested. But they're both Holly weird, if you ask me. There's Hollywood Brown, just a fabulous football player. Went on to college where he just dominated at Oklahoma. He's become an integral part of the attack in Arizona, formerly with the Baltimore Ravens, right? And you know how good Andrews is. I mean, Mark Andrews, he's just fabulous. So you take a look right there at some of the studs, and Brown goes off. 14 receptions, 140 yards, 40 points for him. Andrews was terrific as well, as he had 28 points. So almost half the points scored for Loopy's by those two fabulous football players, right? Really, Andrews reminds me a tiny bit of, I mean, he's a more athletic. He reminds me of a Bavaro with his physicality, but the athleticism is Kelsey-like. Or maybe Kelsey, or who's the kid? Olsen with the Panthers. One of those great receivers, right? Like very, very dominant, being able to go up and get the football, be able to run routes in the slot, can work the sidelines. He's just a great football player. Made a touchdown catch where he tiptoed in the back of the end zone on a strike from Jackson last week. And he's just terrific. So you've got a 1-2 punch. Both of those guys, interestingly enough, from Oklahoma. They both have similar stats on the season for Brown and Andrews. Brown's 24 catches, 251 yards, a touchdown. And for Andrews, 22 receptions, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns. Both of them averaging about 11 points a game. So it's terrific news for Loopy that he's got a stud at wide receiver. Expected. He's got a stud expected at tight end. And they've both been fabulous. Both, I said, from Oklahoma. Brown was taken 86th overall in the 2018 draft. And for Andrews, he was selected in the 5th round, 4th round. He was selected by Loopy in the 3rd round, his first pick, or the first overall pick of the 3rd round in League De Nutz's draft. And he was a 5th round draft pick for League De Nutz, for Loopy in League De Nutz. So far he's gotten a lot out of them, and there's been big contributions from the pair of Sooners to get him to the 2-1 mark on the season. Interestingly enough, for Loopy, his first round pick was the other Brown, A.J. Brown, and he hasn't really done much. Or he was his second round choice. First pick of the 2nd round for Loopy. Hasn't done much. 19 points, though, last week. He's been great, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. He didn't do much last week compared to the other Brown, put it that way. But the tail of the tape, no doubt about it in this one, as it was the wide receivers, right? And for Stanford, not enough going on with the Cup, Lazard, Allen Robinson combination. They go for 49. The flex player, Journeyman, was great. This guy right here. He was the man for the Raiders, so he did their job for Stanford with 41 points in the flex, so you give him credit for that start right there. Mac Hollins. I keep on saying the Oakland Raiders. In my mind, I keep saying it, and somehow I'm spitting it out as the Las Vegas Raiders. It will just never sound the way it should sound, like the Washington Commanders. Give me a effing break. Anyway, one team moves cities, one team switches names altogether for a whole different reason, but Mac Hollins gets the job done. 8 catches, 158, the touchdown. I showed you it there. 41 points. He'll get an opportunity to go off again this week against the Denver Broncos. So, these two, as I said, it's a rematch weekend. They'll rematch in the Luca Rossi division. Big one at stake. There he is, the legend again. Promise you I won't do that to you and ruin your Saturday night. I may have already, sorry. Anyway, let's move on to our 5th matchup of week number 3, and it was a battle won by Dax. Pick 6. Able to score the W over AB's painted helmet. 153-144. Don't mean to get off subject here, but go Google Antonio Brown Dubai. Ah, boy. Cray. Anyway, ABs. They fall, as you see there, by 9. Both teams. The good news is they're both 2-1. Dax, well, who are they led by? Well, just about everyone. Take a look for yourself. All 8 of their skills players in double digits. Again, Allen was just tremendous. What a great football player. This is stock footage from the Nutz Town Archives, the League De Nutz Archives. This is week 13, 2018. And I did the best I could. Last week, you see him run silly there. Throw the ball away. Do what he does best and just big dude. Jim Kelly's body with Fran Tarkenton's feet. 42-63. 2 touchdowns last week. And he threw for 400 yards on the nose, right? If your wide receiver is going to produce in League De Nutz, you're going to win. If your quarterback usually throws for 400 yards, you're good to go. With the 47 yards on the ground, like I said, and the 400 yards through the air, good for 35 points. He's averaging 38. That's second best next to Lamar Jackson in the NFL. One of my favorite guys in recent memory, he's kind of an old school player. Came through last week in the victory, like Josh Allen, this guy right here. Sterling Shepard. Shep Nice. He used to wear 13. Now he's, number 3? 5 catches, 49 yards, but again, derailed by another tragic injury. Can't escape it. He's just one of those guys that's always banged up. So he gets injured. He'll be out for a while, Sterling Shepard, but he came through nicely for Dax and Lewin. Meanwhile, this dude here is just great, right? He's still there, but once he starts dancing, I'll show you. He's unstoppable. There he goes. He's also pretty good at catching the football. For ABs, this Buffalo Bill star, though, was held in check. Only 14 points, a partisan. Told you about that over-under. 7 catches, 74 yards, no touchdowns, just 14 for the man who wears number 14. All right. Anyway, let me get back on camera here. Gave Diggs a lot of opportunity to dance. The other kid who I talked about last week, and St. Brown, who I called St. John. I apologize. You know, they have the one show on ESPN where they have Stat Boy. I need a Stat Boy because you're going to make a mistake every week. I did last week. I jinxed him. There he is. And that is Amon-Ra St. Brown. 13 points, a little bit of a disappointing day for him. Adam Thielen, 18 points. Really for ABs, the story last week, just nobody really erupting, you know? On AB's bench, interestingly enough, and like I said in the intro, the opener, it's the time of year where you start kind of looking at the bench and you give yourself maybe a little bit of a break of someone you didn't start or you could have, should have started, like Patterson right here, who came through with a great day. 141 yards rushing and a touchdown versus Seattle. But he sat on the bench, and I don't think it would have mattered. You know, I don't blame ABs that much for not starting him. Understood. But it's one of those where you start looking at that. Or you look at it the other way around, like I did with the Olave, the wide receiver, the rookie on the Saints, where now you got a guy who's proven himself. So now you have to start them and roll the punches. So maybe Patterson's the lineup for ABs this weekend. We'll see. They'll go against Polk High School. I mentioned earlier they beat Polk in their lone meeting, 179-137. Dax will take on Smash. And finally, one last game to talk about. Let's do it. This was the nail biter of the bunch, if you want to call it that. 121-119. The victory for fantastic Mr. Fox. He's 2-1, has won 2 straight. Really the only team on a win streak of sorts here in League De Nutz, the hottest team. Keldar, 1-2. Talk about the standings in a moment, right? Doesn't mean much. It does, but he's in the Haganah. And again, I told you about the over-under. It's early. Had to say it, though. This game just came down to simply Monday night. This guy right here. Lamb. Making a great touchdown catch for the Dallas Cowboys late in the game. There you see it. Look at that beautiful one-handed catch. Broke the 13-all tie. Dallas went on to victory. It was Lamb against Saquon. And that was the story, as these two were neck and neck. Keldar led by a handful of points going into the Monday Nighter. And they were going seesaw, back and forth, like a tennis match at Wimbledon. Saquon was brilliant. CeCe Lamb was brilliant. Both of them came out with 22 points. But it was just a little too much for Keldar to handle, or not enough from Barkley to put him over the top. So you get a draw with the two superstars, and again, it comes out by way of fantastic Mr. Fox getting the win over Keldar. So, CC, way to go. 8 catches, 87 yards for him on the night. Saquon, 81 yards rushing. He had a 36-yard touchdown run. Saquon looked like he had spring in his step that hasn't been there for quite some time, at least from what I can see. So those are the 6 games. Like I said, only 2 close, 1 nail-biter. Parity hasn't been there overall. But let's take a look at the standings as we go into the 4th week of the season, which has gotten underway, right? I'm late with the show, but better late than never. Standings. So, bet you've seen these by now, right? Okay. Go from left to right. There goes your Haganah right there. You got 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Got 3 teams under 500. What's that? Par for course in this division. It's coming down to the final week. It always does. I bet that for certain. So things are close in the Haganah. Big weekend again. Keldar will take on the Destroyers, yours truly. And if I can grab a win over him, then I'm 2-0 against him in the division. And 0-1 against Shotgunners. So it's a big early determination game there. Delray Pounders, as mentioned, hey, the rookie is running away with it. What do we know? Absolutely nothing. The rookie has looked great. 3-0. Perfecto. 1-game lead over Fantastic. And then Dingaling, the butt fumbles down there. 2-game lead. So big matchup coming up. And we'll give you the matchups again for Delray to keep things going in that Shoreham East division. Froley Roper, top right. You got Helmet, 2-1, despite the loss last week to Dax Picks, 2-1. Big win for them, as I mentioned, against Helmet to get right in the middle of things. 2-time champion, Wal Bundy. Well, you know he's going to find the way to Wal Bundy his way into things. I mean, the guy's savvy. Don't count him out yet. He's right in the middle of the pack despite being on the bottom of it. Everyone is. Luca Brazzi. You don't want to swim with the fishes in this division. So right now, Lupe's looking good. A 2-time champ himself, 2-1. Those Nuts, the rookie, 1-2. Coming off the loss last week. And Smash You, another 2-time champ. Most playoff appearances and finals appearances in League De Nutz history. Well, he's right in it too. So that's how the standings are, and no one's putting anything away just yet, even though, again, they let off the show with the Delray Pounders. They're looking good. Amazingly enough, the rookie has not tasted defeat in League De Nutz just yet. Let's give you the bug out cam. How about that? Forgot I had this camera on as well. Let's take a look at the scoreboard. Things got underway, as I said, Thursday night. Some of your players already gave your teams a nice little bit of padding. Let's show you and highlight some of those players. So, Keldar right there, taking on yours truly, 42-0. T. Higgins, all 42 points for Keldar in that Thursday night victory for the Cincinnati Bengals, taking on the Miami Dolphins. Somewhere up here I have a picture of the uniforms. I thought I did. Interesting uniforms. There they are. There's a Mixon scoring. What do you guys think of those uniforms? I thought they were pretty cool. I liked them. I like the Giants uniforms as well. But the Giants were awesome, right? As they went with that old time, well, I didn't like the touchdown there, but they went with those old school 80s uniforms. Reminds me of LT. That was pretty cool. I like both uniforms. But let's go back to the scoreboard. Enough of the one hand to grab. Anyway, T gives Keldar a big boost with 42 points. Fantastic Mr. Fox. He's up 13-0 thus far. Delray Pounders down 16-6. AB's 39 points from Hill in the loss for Miami. It's going to be interesting to see how long Tua is out and what that means. Teddy Bridgewater can get Waddle and Hill going like Tua has been. But nonetheless, Teddy came in and did a good job of getting Hill the football, taking over nicely in that regard for Tua. So 39 there for Hill gives Smash U a nice little boost. And then between Burrow and Mixon, who I showed you there before, right? There you go. One more look at those uniforms. Pretty cool. You get yourself 40 points between the two. So those teams, they had some of their superstars show up. We'll see what happens as we get ready now for week number 4 in League De Nutz. I'm excited. Certainly am. I'm hoping, of course, I'm hoping. Fingers, toes, you can't see the toes. Crossed to knock off Keldar. This is the fun time of the season. It really is. So all I can say is buckle up, lock it in, pop yourself a cold one tomorrow. Enjoy the games, and good luck in week number 4 here in League De Nutz. I'll catch you next week on This Week in League De Nutz. Adios.